So for anyone watching, because this is Axe, we are mostly using rules that precede the upcoming Imperial imprint. The main exceptions you'll see bring thieves and low-light vision more in line with the revised designs. They add explorers to the core class list and swap their prime requisite to Constitution. The world, however, has been meticulously built and stocked following the guidelines from the Imperial Imprint Judge's Journal, and those familiar with the AX module series set in the Oran Empire will recognize quite a bit from AX1. Let's begin with our dramatis personae. First is the fighter Polensis, a mercenary played by Ross. Go ahead and say
Hello.
Last session, he hired a hard-drinking, hard-gambling fighter henchman named Joyce, who will be piloted this session as a secondary character by Chris. The party's explorer, Marie Azalea, is a scout, normally played by Jay, although he is absent tonight, so she will be waiting out in town, I believe. The first of the party's two mages is Zephyr, a pyromancer in the Lacarnan tradition, styling himself the Incandescent, played by Richard. And in the downtime between sessions, he hired a local trapper named Telma, who I have assigned as a secondary character to Ross for today. Last is the wizard Jagrav. Am I saying that right?
Jagrav.
Jagrav? Jagrav, who, unbeknownst to his companions, is a necromancer. He is played by Chris.
Good evening.
It is the small craft's fate to watch the list of the galleons and pray for light winds. And these unlucky six live in the border marks of one such skiff, the freeport of Bremen, southern of two tiny nations unfortunate enough to occupy the land bridge between a pair of imperious giants. These looming empires long kept one another in check until a turbulent succession in the sprawling Sultanate of Hansa to the south emboldened hawks in the northerly kingdom of Locarno to swoop down unopposed on their neighboring bridge state, Ascona. Hansa now musters its armies in reply to thwart Locarno and claim the corridor for its own. Bremen is merely in the way. The Freeport's saving grace is a crescent of savage and untamed wilderness, spanning the gap between it and the Hansan border, though the internal borders of Bremen have been severely depleted by the departure of thousands of volunteers going north to fight with Ascona. Now, a month passed before news of Hansa's impending approach reached our four travelers by Bremen's eastern border, leaving them with precious little time to plan an escape or prepare to make a stand. Once the reins of the campaign were handed over to the players, their first move was to make for the country's remotest border fort, Ostmark Tor. They found the Markswarden there more concerned with mounting beastmen raids from forests within the borders than he was with the Hansan invasion. He offered a generous reward for any who could quash the internal threat, but the party felt that the work was too much for a group of their size, so they ventured a shallower way into the forest in search of lost merchants. They found none, but did recover a heavy wagon full of trade goods from what they hoped were brigands bringing spoils deeper into the forest. I say hope because while they had some suspicions, they didn't really check before Polensis killed one of them in an ambush. Jagrav engulfed the rest in sorcerous darkness, and he and Zephyr, yes, the mages, went to work slaying three more while Marie took a captive. And
I beat a
Polensis,
second-level fighter to death with a quarterstaff. Muscle wizard.
You think he was a second-level fighter. Anyway, I think it was amazing.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, he's not around to contradict you anymore, so...
That's right.
I guess you're going to get away with that. Anyway, Polensis, the fighter, went after the horses, who were the real treasure. Never to be deterred by such petty questions as, what was your alignment again? The party returned to sell their salvaged goods at Ostmark Tor. They then traveled one border fort north to Sill's Bend Tor, where they are currently lodged. The Markswarden there seems convinced that his citizens stand the best chance to weather the coming war if they push across the border and into an apparently quiet part of the untamed crescent. He's hiring scouts to survey the land across the border while the farming folk gather near the fort. The party decided to defer this offer slightly and instead begin the session by investigating reports of fouled local game meat. However, Before we advance to the present moment, we will conduct a brief interview with a potential henchman, the local cartographer archivist's most foolish apprentice, Holt. This is
Yes.
taking place the day after the last session.
This is good.
You'll find Holt with the cartographer at the lodge in town. Do you have any questions you'd like to lead with?
What is your experience with weapons?
Well, he tells you, I am a trained scout.
Very good. I don't think I have any more.
Stoic as ever. Does anyone else want to ask him anything before you decide whether or not to hire him? You were introduced to him, of course, as a mapper by the cartographer, who was shocked that you intended to scout the forest without one.
Do you have any? Have you ever met or seen a beastman, alive or dead?
You're,
Don't believe that anyone ever has around here. Some of the soldiers say that they do, but they're always drunk.
your hireling, Zephyr, actually chimes in at the table and says, I don't actually think they're real.
Do you think something? Let's loop back to that one. That sounds. I want to hear more about this, but I want to come back to that.
Holt gives her a curt nod. They seem to be on the same wavelength.
Well, hang on a second. If they're on the same wavelength, I'm going to yield to circumstances and inquire. If there are no beastmen, then what happened to the town of whatever its name is? I'm trying to remember. Town of. What's that town just northeast of
Aspen?
northwest? Yeah, Aspen. What happened to Aspen then? Who laid waste to it?
Well, brigands, of course. Probably wearing furs, you know. I mean, have you ever seen one of these beastmen?
After all, didn't you yourselves fight an entire group of bandits and heroically fend them off and slay them all? I mean, you've seen... What need is there for stories of monsters? We make our own.
At this, Holt will raise an eyebrow. He seems impressed to hear this. When did this happen?
About a week, a little over a week ago. I turned to Shikrov. If I remember, between the two of us, most of them were routed by our initial display of power, and those who decided to stick around and close the fight didn't win the engagement.
We were fortunate.
People make their own fortune.
I lean into Zephyr and in whispering say, remember his most foolish servant.
I nod sagely.
So, are you hiring or not?
Oh, yes.
Sure. Yeah. Welcome to the
Would
squad.
you like to make him an offer? Would you like to ask other questions? Would you like to know what color his hair is?
No, I don't want to know that yet. We'll leave
How
such matters to see.
Don't want to get too attached.
Yeah, I'll save that for after the reaction roll.
Oof.
How does 10 gold sound?
I said I'm a trained scout. Normally, we wouldn't work for less than 25.
Indeed.
Well, then,
And
double
just to be
it.
clear, are you expecting me to fight? Because that's a very different rate.
Oh, what is that rate?
Well, you know, if I fight, I want to share the spoils. But why don't you impress me?
This is fair. A share of spoils.
You hear that, Joyce? He wants a share of your spoils.
A full share?
Yeah,
A
says
lot.
that he might
Oh, a full
be
share.
fighting.
Hmm.
Palinsa says that to Joyce.
What does Joyce think about it?
If he wants to fight, we can check him out right now.
If you're interested in the higher rate,
I
after
mean,
all.
if he's going to be a higher rate, let's find out. I mean, you
It's true.
tested me out.
Okay. Do you
Poor
want to?
Martin.
No. This is up to you guys. Do you want to actually fight with him, or do you want to just?
I'd like
abstract
Joyce.
this as a
Joyce.
brawl, because you can fight him if you want, but
No. We'll I mean, I think if it's Joyce anyway, I don't know how the other guys feel, but
Joyce fights dirty.
exactly. I want to see this guy's reaction to Joyce more than anything else. If we have to share a road together.
Oh, Lord. You scamps.
He
Down,
seems to
huh?
be looking down on Joyce. You're not convinced that it's because he thinks he's a bigger and stronger man than Joyce is, but because he thinks he's a higher class citizen.
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
Which
Oh,
indeed I
Joyce-
believe
Joyce-
most of you are when it comes to that comparison.
Yeah, Joyce is used to not being a higher class guy.
Some would suggest that.
What do you say? Gonna put your unwon money where your mouth is?
Ah,
I think you guys need me more than I need you. You can go out into that forest without a mappa if you want.
The mapping
It's
rate.
your
then.
decision whether you want someone who can fight
Then
or
you may
not.
stand
I'm perfectly
aside.
happy to stay in the back with a bodyguard. You see, I still
Yes.
make most of my wage just the same.
Yes. The mapping rate will do. 25?
Yeah. That's usually what we wouldn't get out of bed for less than. You can roll a reaction. It's a higher.
it is convenient that we all have the same charisma. Doesn't really matter who rolls.
I would say it's inconvenient because of the charisma that you all have. But okay.
We're perfectly mediocre.
Okay, let's do it here. What is it again? Roll?
2d6.
2d6.
No. No, I mean the bot command or the app command or whatever.
Oh, you just write.
Oh,
write
just
the dice.
2d6. You don't proceed it with
2d6.
anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Mediocre.
Well, let's see. I think he wants you to sweeten the pot.
I'll pitch in.
I'll offer an extra 5.
Okay, I was gonna offer you 5 to give. I'll give you 5.
Okay.
But if we're gonna spin that, is this a daily rate or like
What? This is
it's
a
a-
monthly rate.
monthly
Yeah.
rate? Okay. Nonetheless,
got
Time for a month,
TTRPG.
whether you use them or not for a month, that's up to you. But he
Yeah.
wants to be on retainer.
well, still, then this means we definitely need to be going out there and mapping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, how much did you say you want to offer is the...
It'd be 30
of
gold
30.
total. Yeah.
They'll raise an eyebrow and say, yeah, okay.
What's his name again?
Holt,
Alt.
30 gold. And you say you're definitely mapping, right?
There are certain things in the forest whose location we want to pinpoint.
Yeah, me too. So I think perhaps we can come to some sort of agreement. No fighting, though. We understand each
No.
other about that? No fighting.
No, it's not your responsibility. In the event,
All right.
Zephyr looks away and says nothing.
Jagrov, you mean? I'm Zephyr.
Sorry, Jagrov.
But Zephyr does look away and say nothing.
Well, he'll reach out his hand.
We look
and
in
say,
opposite directions.
I suppose
each
we have
say
the accord.
nothing.
We can have the contract drawn up later.
Yes.
Okay. He'll shake whoever puts out their hand, and you have hired a new hireling. I am going to say, wait, who hired him? By the way,
Jogrov.
whose henchman was this? Jogrov's henchman. That's what I thought. Okay, good. In which case, I am going to hand this one off to Richard. Let's see. Here is a brief description.
He's DMing me, chat.
Yes. Now, what's your next order of business, gentlemen?
We were gonna go and investigate this meat situation, the game situation.
Okay. How would you like to go about doing that? You gave a couple of suggestions last session. One of them involved going to the local hospital, and between sessions, Richard also suggested consulting with the trapper that he just hired, who may also.
Thelma, you know something or another about the situation with the local game.
Yes.
What? Fill us in, if you will.
Sure. As I was saying, I think that these beastmen, I think this is just some sort of... It leads me to believe that before the war, that people are stirring this whole thing up for a reason. I've trapped animals. I've never seen a beastman before. In fact, the only people that I ever see claim to have seen one are braggarts and, well, people here. And to be clear, we're in a tavern at Sills Bend. Is that where we are?
Well, I suppose you can have retired to wherever you
the
like.
Inn and Bathhouse.
Yeah, you're probably at the Bleeding Hunter Inn outside of the gates.
Bleeding Hunter. Okay. So, and she says, I will tell you that trappers have gone missing, though. It's true that what they say about that. But there's a reason why these forests are dangerous and why someone should be careful. They're probably gathered up by brigands, pressed into slavery, or just slain and robbed. It happens all the time along the edges of these forests. There was a recent rush, though, of people because people started bringing back a lot of pelts and game. So a lot of people came into the area, and, well, not everyone is cut out for this job.
Takes a lot of patience. Takes a lot of hard work.
I suppose a lot of people were desperate and needed money, though.
So do you think that... So, I'm reading behind the lines of your statement. Are you proposing that brigands have been selling people as game meat?
Oh, that's gruesome. You mean what you had told me when you hired me about the game meat being spoiled here?
I confess I may perhaps have read too many alarming stories in my youth.
Well, they do sound like those...
This is quite the leap.
They sound like those kinds of stories. I know what you mean. But, look, I will tell you that there is plenty of game to be had in the forest east of here. But, as to why and you've seen this meat? You've seen that the meat is rotten?
No, I've only heard rumors to this effect from the quartermaster. Apparently, there's as Palensis mentioned earlier, if someone has put forth a law saying that no game meat may be sold without inspection by the quartermaster, then that implies that someone has been selling meat for which there is good cause to be protesting.
That is a
don't-
implication, but perhaps another possibility is that the masters of the scouts here in Sills Bend wish to keep hunters and trappers from actually acquiring meat. Maybe it's not.
I didn't think of that.
Maybe it's not a.
Corruption possible. Okay, good. This is great. You guys are doing great.
Yes.
Never admit that.
Lots of ideas.
Maybe it's not that the meat is bad, but rather that the gathering of the meat is bad from the eyes of the masters of Sills Bend. I don't mean to
Apocryphal
complicate
King's
your
Forest.
efforts even further, but just to say that I haven't seen any spoiled meat, and I gather it.
Fascinating. Well, I was meaning to go to the hospital and discuss if they've seen people, laid low by parasites or food poisoning or other strange illnesses.
It seems like that would answer that question, wouldn't it?
Well, let's go do that then, if we dare. What time of the day is it?
Pretty much still mid-morning. You guys had breakfast and you went to the lodge and you hired a dude and you're maybe 3 hours into your day total.
All right. Holt gets up and says, "Well, if you guys are going to go mapping, if you guys are going to go talk to the hospital, I'm going to go get back to my regular job. You know where to find me. Let me know if you need anything, my expertise. I'll see you all later. Pleasure doing business with you."
He never told you where to find him, by the way.
Oh.
Okay.
Out of character, actually, I have to nip off to the restroom briefly. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Father Chris, you wanna head out to Jagrov? Jagrov, you wanna head to the hospital? We don't see some sick people there, then maybe this means nothing at all. Maybe it's just some, I don't know, something going on with the business of trapping and furs and nonsense. Either way, it may not pay anything.
First the hospital,
Okay.
then
sorry.
the hunting lodge.
All right. So you'll have no trouble finding the hospital. The layout within the fort is a little bit different from Ostmark, but it is essentially built on the same pattern. The hospital even looks like it's constructed in a similar way, sort of a 75-foot square with a courtyard in the middle. The promenades allow you to access it from all four cardinal directions, and you can see straight in. There are rooms surrounding it. What do you want to do? You want to go and take a look around the rooms? You want to go and try to talk to somebody?
Yeah, let's find. We'll find. Well, we've been here before, haven't we? Or no, that was the last place we were. Maybe
That was the last place. Yes.
last place.
that was
Okay,
in
so
Ostmark.
we don't have to look forward to that rude lady.
Well, nonetheless, if these
And
people,
she doesn't have to look forward to those rude mages.
I
Nonetheless,
well, maybe if these are sisters and they're all, about the saints and all that stuff, maybe you should depend on my rugged charm instead of, no offense.
I agree.
Oh, simple
All
enough.
right. You will be terribly disappointed to find that this hospital is almost entirely run by men.
Oh. Yeah, and no sort of defining livery or uniform or tabard or something.
Well, they certainly are all uniformed the same, but you don't recognize this as religious livery. This is chirurgians.
Oh, okay. This is a trade hospital then. That is to say, they're getting paid for this, and it's not like a municipality of the Tor. Same thing.
Well,
It's all the same, actually.
I think it's definitely attached to the military. I mean, these are medical personnel, if you want to think of it that way. But
Well, nonetheless, that's still
they're not priests.
Yeah, I'll go up to someone and I'll say, Hello, good healer.
He'll jump a little bit.
Please don't be alarmed. I don't mean you any harm. We are doing some work here about Sills Bend, and we're wondering if you've seen anything related to the bowels of the men taken in here.
Are you hurt?
No, I'm not hurt. We're hired
I'm
to
very
do.
sorry. I'm terribly busy, but I can take you to O'Shea. He will answer your questions.
That's fine. Let's go. I don't want to take any of your time either.
No. It's quite all right. We do answer questions here. He walks you to the central courtyard where you see a slightly older Asconan man, curly dark brown hair, kind of a sort of upturned nose, gathering herbs. He'll point you to him and say, O'Shea, I think there are some guests to see you. And then he'll head back off to attend to his duties, taking inventory, I suppose.
Zephyr heaps effusive praise upon the quality of the man's garden.
And
Zephyr.
what is the quality of the medical treatment? Same questions I had at the other place.
The quality meaning the degree of goodness seems pretty good.
like-
The quality meaning the style is quite different. I mean, these are clearly men of medicine. You don't see anything implying that the religious iconography here is intended to give much more than hope. But it's certainly still a house of healing.
But it's run well. You know, they're not overwhelmed. Is there anything unusual, a pattern that I notice amongst those convalescing here?
The doors that you walk by that are open, you do see a number of people in them. Most of them don't appear to be soldiers. Some are, but most of them appear to just be folks from around. You don't see a lot of people who look like they're dying of the pox or anything like that, but you definitely see some folks convalescing. Oh, you have healing, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can get a little more out of this. You will think that most of them are dealing with fevers or maybe dysentery, things like that. I'm not going to get into the smells, but yeah, you think this is a lot of that sort of sickness, and that it doesn't seem to be plague strength, but certainly seems, there's something going around. Water supply, maybe.
Okay. All right. That's all my sort of in my own character's mind type stuff. I'm happy to leave it to.
Yeah.
What's
One thing you will note is that you don't see signs that anyone seems to have recently died. It does look like they have a pretty good record of dealing with whatever's going on here.
Well, Zephyr, as the designated upbeat extrovert, will be like, so we are interested in getting into procuring local game for the market, and we've been informed that there is some concern. I know, we have our fingers in many pies, and we are interested, and we've been informed that there is an ongoing problem with people selling shifty product which is of uncertain provenance, and more specifically, product which has been making people sick. And I've been wondering, like, how, if this has been an ongoing issue, if it's a recent development, if there's some root cause which we might be, profitably spend our time investigating.
Well, he says, I would very much like to know the same. He gathers up his bundle and says, for now, the only advice I can offer you is to stick to what the herdsmen bring. Chicken, goat, pork, beef. If you want to eat meat. He'll start to walk the other way and say, if you have other questions, you should follow me. And he'll begin making his rounds, delivering some of the herbs to various rooms.
Walk and talk.
You want to know about the source, right?
We have some ideas ranging from the mundane to the fanciful, and we're curious to narrow them down to something more specific.
Roll me a reaction check. Let's see how much this guy likes you beyond the most basic demands of the Hippocratic Oath.
5.
A 5. 5.
On a 5 on a 2d6, yes.
And your charisma is
10. You know our charisma modifiers are all 0.
I know, but I just
all
want
of
to hear
us.
you say it.
I hate you so much.
You don't need to hate me. You're the one who rolled these stats. So
I hate you so much, dice roller.
Well, now we're talking. Little dice hate never hurt anybody. So he doesn't seem inclined to give you too much information, but he will sort of curtly say as he goes about delivering his herbs, he'll say like, no improvement today. But he's in the clear to one of the aides, and they'll glance up and say, I think it's coming from the forest. Venison, deer, boar, rabbits, wild birds. He'll shrug. Move on to the next
Something
room.
awry with the meat there. All right, it's simply it's a recent development. It hasn't been ongoing over the duration of the settlement, I assume.
He doesn't look inclined to give you too much more information, but he will say something to the effect of, yeah, it's recent.
Oh, thank you. That's good to know. Good day, sir, and thank you for your time.
He'll nod and say, try not to get sick.
It's
And he moves on to the next room and begins speaking with one of the aides there about
good
the
advice
state of one of
always.
the patients.
Well, Jagrov, Palensis, it seems like we have a worthwhile point of inquiry. Something going on in the forest to the east, but it might be something as simple as just a miasma among the wildlife. Still, we could examine.
I agree. We can
Good place to start.
see if we can find Holt and get him to earn all that gold we just paid him.
I'm sure he's around here somewhere. Did he ever tell us where to meet him? I don't think he did.
No.
Are you sure?
He didn't, but you will find him at the lodge.
I figured. Yeah, that seemed like the likely guess.
We knew he was a fool. This is fine.
Let's see what kind of fool he is, I suppose. Not a brave one.
No. But this will be tested.
Okay. I look forward to it. So, you'll be able to gather everyone. What would you like to do with the rest of the day? You still have plenty of time to do a full day's just about anything. You're just coming in around the end of your... Well, maybe it's lunchtime.
I would propose that we go poke around in the forest and go hunting and see what we can learn. I doubt that the short version is we have a professional healer, so I feel like we
Yes.
might be able to learn more about the state of why any animals we find which are malformed are malformed.
Yes, maybe.
That's true. You don't have animal husbandry, but
No,
certain
but
principles apply.
yes.
Certain principles do apply. So you want to go into the forest. Okay. Cool.
He has a remarkable talent for making every choice we make seem anxiety-inducing.
Is this Eastern Forest across the river?
So that's actually a good question. Why don't you take a quick look at the map?
Peeking at the map.
The answer is yes if you want it to be, and no if you want it not to be. I would say Jay's map is reasonably accurate. There's a section of the Eastern Forest that is north of the River Sill, and a section that is south of the River Sill. You do not know which way the river turns once it goes into the forest, or whether it turns at all. It could continue north in the forest, it could turn east, it could turn straight south, which would make this sort of an uninspired place to put a settlement named Sill's Bend, but We're stuck
Hill's
with it now.
hairpin.
Yeah.
Northeast.
I guess
That
that
way
can
we
be
don't have to
whatever.
ford a river and we can go east into the forest so that we can actually verify these things. By the way,
Okay.
your hireling, they have the proficiencies of trapping, tracking, mimicry, bargaining.
No wonder I paid her so much.
Yeah, I guess she kind of got a deal.
What I mean to say is that she has bargaining, ergo.
It would be nice to gather a rumor at the hunting lodge before we depart. Like to.
Oh, there's a proper hunting lodge? Then yeah, let's do that.
I'm sorry, I thought that we were talking about a lodge and that
There's a
like
trapper's
hunters and
lodge.
trappers.
Or, I mean, there's
The Scouts Lodge.
Scout's lodge. That's the one.
Yes.
Oh.
That sits in place of what you would typically call the chapter house. In fact, it technically is the chapter house. It's just they've kind of got their own local terminology for it because there ain't no mages here.
That was true.
Well, we should go wherever someone has been into the forest recently. There's no reason to leave with no intelligence if we can get it.
If we swing by the market, we can probably find someone who's purchased and sold meat. Get some information from them.
Yeah.
Telma's pretty knowledgeable about this, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
what-
This is her job.
What do you want to know?
I mean, so we need just tactical knowledge. So the first thing is are all these people lying? You know, like, is it like, no, the meat's fine. There's nothing wrong. There's no blight. Has she dealt with this certification process where she has to have her meat inspected? And she's not been able to actually sell anything other than these, let's see, pork, chicken, herb, and...
Domestic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so here's what she's going to be able to...
And tactical
Who
stuff
you
would
guys-
be like, there's a whole thing of bandits that are camped out. You know, like we would need to know things like that.
Well, so this is a border march, and that's the border. There are no villages beyond Sill's Bend going eastward. It is the bastion of civilization. And it's part of the line that holds the border. All of the hunters in this area, as far as she knows, she's not omniscient, but her life of work has given her the impression that pretty much every hunter hunts in the very shallow part of the needle break, at most a mile in, before it gets super thick. Past that point, it's way too dangerous. And nobody hunts in the East Forest. That's suicide. The guards don't patrol there. And, you know, if people have been going there, that's new. That's a new development.
Well,
Okay,
if we know where people do go, that would be a good starting point. Because, and then the other crucial thing is, what does she know about the meat? That's the main thing. Like, has it been a big pain in the butt? She hasn't captured anything. She's captured it and she can't sell it.
No, she's actually been able to sell all of the meat that she's ever brought back because she's only ever, she's never been far from where she's from her village, and her village was, I don't know, all the meat that came from there seemed to be fine.
Has she eaten her own meat?
Yeah, it's her primary source of sustenance.
Yeah. Okay, then she thinks all of this is like a lie, right? Like,
However, what she can tell you is that a lot of the villages that were on the fringe of the needle break have been displaced by these raids, supposedly beastmen. And so there are a lot of hunters, not just hunters, but among other things, a lot of hunters who are kind of gathered up in camps outside of Sill's Bend, just, trying to figure out what to do. They got to eat.
Okay.
Well, they will probably... I suspect they might take it as an offense if we ask them why their meat's gone all shitty. But,
Well, they just
If
hunted.
they're going-
Not like they grew bad crops.
Well, this sounds like a thing to do along the way anyway. It's like we poke our head in there and find out if there's a bunch of sick people all moaning in tents.
Okay.
Especially... Yeah, let's head on over.
To the camps outside of Sill's Bend?
Yes.
Yeah,
Camps.
Alright, so-
Hunting camps.
and just to make sure that this is on the way, right? So, like, if we're headed on a northeast vector here, such that we can go to the eastern forest that you were talking about a mile in and not have to ford the river, are such campsites there.
Those camps aren't there. Those camps are just outside of Silla's Bend. So there's a curtain wall,
Yeah.
and then you head down the
That's where I'd
down the
camp.
slope, and then there is some,
Yeah.
townhouses and smaller huts, and then
Yeah.
past that, just radially expanding outward.
So it sounds like it's on the way. I just
Then
want to make
there's
sure of that.
People in tents, lots of them gathered up.
And then also that Holt is with us. I just wanted to be clear on
Oh
that.
yeah,
Is Holt with
you've been
us?
able to
Okay.
gather him.
Gotcha.
He was confused that it took you so long to find him, and again, still, well,
Where else would I be? Of course I'd be at the Scouts Lodge.
bless you. So yes, you'll be able to head outside.
No
You
wonder
don't
you need a
hear
mapper.
lots of
You're so
moaning or
easily
anything,
confused about
but
time and space.
if you want to track somebody down in this area outside of the fixed settlement, you can absolutely start asking some questions. People look hungry, but they don't look sick.
Yeah. If there's nothing that appears to be wrong with them, then we certainly we've got a mystery on our hands here about why they're worried about meat. Well, I mean, what do you workers of the sciences think here? I mean, what do you think's going on?
Your theory, Thelma, that this is some sort of attempt to introduce a bureaucratic blockade between the market and the producers in order to skim a little off the top, is starting to seem more plausible to me. But
This is something
Marks in real time.
clearly, there is chaos at work in
Okay.
this town
Okay.
and around and thereabouts.
we know that something, or at least I know that something is awry in the Needlebreak. There are some supernatural powers afoot within. If that is the source of the hunting, and many recent developments have occurred stemming in the Needlebreak, I wouldn't be shocked to discover that something's gone wrong with the meat. But everyone here seems fine.
I think
I don't know.
an incompetent young Marcher Lord Scout at a tour imposing a bunch of inspections on meat sounds like it causes enough problems to not need chaos and sorcery. But either way, maybe we'll find some answers in the forest.
Law has its own kind of trouble.
I was
I
speaking
will-
of a broader definition of chaos.
Zephyr will cast some bribe money around and ask the hunters if they know anything about what has the quartermaster in such a tizzy about the meat.
Oh, they'll tell you straight off that they think that it's coming from the East Woods.
You think so? You think someone's hunting in the East Woods?
No one clever.
Huh.
Say, I think probably it took people so long to figure it out because the men out here, they got a bad habit of cooking their meat black or covering it up with spices as soon as they pop into town.
You think something's wrong with the meat in the East?
Yeah.
It's,
No one ever hunted there before.
I figured it was just
And
because
no
there
one's
was something
hunting the
there.
Needlebreak now. All those villages got flattened.
So
Do you guys go hunting in the East?
where do you hunt then?
We don't.
Hmm.
You see them all like huddled around. You see maybe five or six people huddled around what looks like it's at most 3 portions of food. Stew cooking up. Maybe a chicken's going on in there.
These guys look hireable. Do we want to try and get some muscle for a hunting expedition into the East? Huddle with a gang.
It seems to me the town's problem is not having meat that is good, and so therefore perhaps we assist in making safe Needlebreak. Perhaps it is more within our strength.
You may well be right. Do you want to just go on a hunting expedition into the Needlebreak? If no one's been hunting it.
We're bringing this mapper, so let's map and make some money. Those are two ways of making money if we don't find anything else.
He'll be able to clue you guys in. The Needlebreak hasn't been well mapped either. It's kind of a dead zone on the map, and he's got no problem.
Needlebreak, it is.
He's got no problem mapping that as long as you're going to be filling in a blank spot. But these forests are just, I mean, no one's lived there in remembered memory.
Let's do it.
Hit the road. If that's true, based on the aggregate of what everybody is saying about these deadly forests, why is it that this Marcher Lord is so keen on trying to settle that place?
Perhaps he's having the dreams too. Perhaps
because he is
entirely pure.
Because he is a fool.
Every fool has its own reasons for foolishness. Wise men are all alike. Every fool is a fool in his own way.
Plinsus looks around all the starving people outside the gates, and he's like, "Yeah, reasons."
Oh, they left to go and buy anything they could with that bribe money you gave them.
Oh,
you cleared this place out at lunchtime.
All right, let me go ahead and. How much money did I lose? Give me
tell me.
2d6 silver pieces.
$1.
Generous.
5 silver pieces.
Yeah, that's plenty of money for picking up raw materials to cook yourself. A lot of wheat.
Okay.
All right.
I was down with this anyways, so this is cool. This combines multiple goals. The cave is in the Needlebreak, right? The Needlebreak is this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
the Needlebreak is the forest that you went into before. Found that broad path in, and
right. Yeah, we already have a quest there.
Perpetrated your first crime that no one saw.
Heroically.
Perfect crime. Heroically perpetrated your first perfect crime.
Yeah.
A lot of crimes are kind of heroic from a certain perspective. That's why we outlaw them.
From a certain point of view.
Heroism and civilization are rarely compatible.
Certain point of view?
Yeah, mine.
Certain point of view. That's the thing that gets everywhere, right?
Everywhere in the world is a point of view for something. Into the Needlebreak. Let's scout the edges.
Okay. You will.
We're much farther north. Than
where are you guys going into it from? The path that you know before. Sorry, path that you know before. The path that you traveled before went from Osmark Tor.
We should
you
really go
to travel straight in from where you are now, or are you planning to go back and then work your way up?
We should, in my opinion, we should take using Telma as our guide. We should take the quickest route that the hunters from Seal's Bend normally take, so that we can. I mean, if their problem is their stuff has been broken up and stuff like that, we should really go over there and see what's up.
Quickest route.
Just west to the Needlebreak, whatever their normal hunting route would be.
Oh, she's gonna tell you that no one touches that hunting route anymore. Not after.
Well, I know.
Her village was destroyed.
That's the point. That's what I'm saying.
That's why I want to go check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. She might object to that.
Telma?
Yeah.
Well.
She came here to get away from that.
Oh.
But if you're going to maybe hunt brigands or something,
that's sort of the point.
Half decent odds that brigands will appear, and if
we'll tell her that we're hunting brigands, and we'll tell Holt that we're mapping the forest, and everything will be fine.
Both. I think this is a win-win-win.
Don't worry, Telma. You have it your back.
Win-win-win lose. You guys are the ones who are going to lose. Everyone else wins. So, you're planning to just go into the forest and do what?
Map.
Yeah, we're gonna explore and map. Ultimately, I think there's multiple goals
know that
here.
There's no reward being offered for mapping the Needlebreak.
No, I'm sorry. I
Oh.
thought that. No, I that totally misunderstood. Because I thought you said that was okay. No.
Okay, yeah. So I apologize if that was unclear. So the needle break is a point of concern for the Marks Warden at Osmark tour. He's concerned about these beastmen raids. When you met with the Marks Warden here at Sillsbend, he seemed to be pretty dismissive of the whole beastman thing. I mean, he didn't say it doesn't exist. He just said, "Yeah, screw that." What about this eastern forest that doesn't have any of those raids coming from it? We're just going to go there. So he's paying people to go and map that area out so that he can expand. And he's a little short on men, so if you want to go and do it, he's got gold, but he's short on competent hands.
Here I want to speak for Jay, because Jay has made it very clear as a player that that's an interesting goal from the first time we spoke about it. So I would like to do that. I'd like to go.
I also would, but I kind of didn't want to do it without Jay here. I made as part of it. I didn't want to start.
It's not a one-day project. I'll tell you that straight up.
Yeah.
You could fill 6 months of play with that if you wanted to.
Let's launch into it and die, and then keep playing after we die.
Okay.
With new characters.
Right. So this is gonna be Jay's most clever decision ever, was to miss the session where there's a TPK.
And then it was his idea. And then also I have to use the bathroom. I'm so sorry. Please excuse me.
Sure. I have one quick question before you guys head out. What are you doing with your valuables?
We are going to. Well, the money I'm just carrying on me. It's not that heavy.
I don't have a lot of money.
I mean, it's not yet enough that I can't just carry it.
Okay.
Listen,
Marie's going to be staying in town at the lodge, taking care of some research that she wants to do there.
Okay, well, I can leave it with her then, I suppose.
Okay.
Well, at least the gold. The silver I'll just carry.
Okay, so you're gonna leave all your gold there. What about the other gentleman?
Jagrov will take his gold with him.
Understood. And we'll catch up with Ross as soon as he's back. And are you guys set on encumbrance and stuff? You know your weights?
I'm at moving speed 12.
Okay. You bring in these horses with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Just to clarify, we're transitioning to the eastern forest, right?
Yes.
Did I understand
That was
correctly?
what I understood. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then we're all on the same page.
So,
But we're
you're
not
heading
crossing
out.
the river.
I understood that you are not planning to cross the river, and that you are planning to head into the eastern forest.
Okay,
Yes.
cool and good. We are all on the same page.
Now, let's talk about your plan. How do you want to go into the eastern forest? The only major landmark that I know that I've given you is a river, but if you want to look for something else, you just let me know.
Well, by the map, it looks as though the eastern forest can actually be gotten into by going north.
Mm-hmm. Or even to the northwest if you're nasty.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
I think we'll just go north from Sills Bend.
But those are not all the same hex, so I need to know which way you want to go.
I think I was going to suggest the northwest route so that we can just start from there and move east.
Yeah.
Along the borders of the forest.
The westernmost hex bordering Sills Bend Tor.
The westernmost hex bordering Sills Bend Tor.
Which is
okay. So you're heading north to the corner where you can past which you can start to see the marshes in the distance, and then you're gonna head east into the forest from that sort of point.
Yeah. As long as it's like if that counts as bordering Sills Bend Tor, then yes. I don't know what your hex map looks like. You won't show it to me because you're mean. You're mean and you won't share your information with me. You won't give me your information.
I mean, strictly speaking, whose map are you going on? Jay's?
Like the one
when you get out of Sills Bend Tor, you'll start to get the impression that maybe the forest looks more like the map that I gave you above.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not too different, but it does. The point where it enters looks like it's a solid 5-6 miles down the road.
Well, I don't want to walk 5-6 miles before entering the forest. I would prefer to just whatever. I don't know what hexes are both in the forest and on the border of.
You don't need to worry about the hexes. I'm just going to give you a distance. Yeah. You tell me the distances. That is more than enough for me to work with.
I don't want
to walk 6 miles away from the Tor.
Let's have our route be the shortest line between the Tor and the forest, and then move east from that point.
Okay, you would say that it's equidistant to your north, and if you follow the river.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Those are two different directions, despite what Jay's map shows. Although his will no doubt be updated and be more accurate once I actually give him more info.
Well, I propose we go north.
Okay, you want to head north into the forest.
Yes.
Great.
As opposed to
I will
following
wait
the
for
river, because
Ross's
the river
return.
the river scares me, and the forest probably should scare me, but doesn't.
The
Everything
river
scares me.
you.
Because
That's not-
everything we say gets that TPK face from Martin. So
I'm
So
so
true.
excited. I'm so excited. I just want your first TPK to be special.
It will be.
I hate to burst your bubble.
It won't be. It'll be disappointing.
You said-
You'll be
well, you
like,
said-
what?
well,
I just probably won't be
Uh,
the first one.
It would not be the first one, although the first one was
Six dragons this close to town?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
This in this hemisphere? No.
I once had a DM that didn't understand the difference between well, anyway, he threw a village full of level 3 fighters with bows at us, and did not go well.
Oh no.
We probably should have surrendered.
Oh, sorry, Ross. I didn't do that. He's telling a story.
Oh, good. Yes, that one time. Not right now.
You're saying that for now. So, we've got your plan, Ross. The plan that was suggested is to enter the eastern forest by the closest path. Two paths exist that are pretty much equidistant. One takes you straight north into it, and one
Let's do it.
takes you along the river, closer to the river, where the forest is a little thinner closer to the river. I should have said that as well. And it's a little thicker if you head north, but I mean, it's a forest of death either way, according to some people. So, I was told that you guys are planning to head north into the forest. Ross, this is your one chance to belay that order. Otherwise, you are going for it.
I have the map up in front of me. I thought it was like northeast, right? Because look, I don't want to be pedantic. Wherever we're going to get to map, investigate the problems, those are the two goals. So if north doesn't make any sense, but I heard east, so
They're approximately the same location.
good.
It's-
That's excellent. That's what excellent.
They're approximately the same location. It's just a question of whether you want to go near the river or avoid the river.
The river gives me the heebie-jeebies, so I wanted to avoid it.
It's also a linear terrain feature that would prevent us from getting lost.
That is true. But I can see the sun most of the time, so I'm not super worried, even though perhaps I should be.
Okay. 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 Good.
Let's go.
So,
Yeah.
you guys will depart at noon. I apologize for belaboring that planning. I should have done so a little bit ahead of time.
No worries.
And into the forest. It very quickly becomes thickens. You see at the edge maybe some spots where, if you were a trapper or something, yeah, this would make sense. You could lay a couple of traps here. It's not too far in, but it very quickly becomes a thick, primordial, wild-looking forest. There's a dense canopy enclosing sort of a humid expanse of gnarled oak, maple, and massive old Larimar trees. You see roots twisting over like mossy boulders and toppled stones here and there that look like maybe at one point they were piled up, but not anytime recently. You would be surprised if anything could pass through here in more than single file, and some of the horses seem to be struggling. They'll make it, but they are definitely not speeding you up very much.
As to be expected. Mostly they just negate the tremendous weight of carrying all that armor.
So, as I've understood, you're just going to go in and start doing searches, right?
And try to develop maps.
Okay.
Find some local
So-
landmarks you can use to orient.
Yeah, no problem. Your mapper is an expert and will be able to do that. The way that this procedure works in Axe is pretty straightforward. You take an hour to search a hex, and that comes with an encounter check, and that comes with a chance to find something in the hex. Now, normally, The only things that you're going to find in a hex are monster lairs. And if you're searching, you have a very good chance of coming on them when they're empty as well. This is just you getting the layout of the area. As you make these checks, if someone has land surveying, which your mapper does, you will also be attempting to assess the land for how much stuff it could support. Sometimes the undergrowth is really thick and he thinks, well, this could feed a lot of animals, that could feed a lot of predators. Or maybe, I can see some rocks over there. There's probably some good caves over there that something could hole up in. Or he's going to be looking at things and saying, man, this place is flat and there's not a lot going on. And yeah, there's a lot of trees, but I just don't think that everything there's going to be that much opportunity for a monster to lair up here. You'll also be looking for points of interest. They're going to be mixed in together, so you have a chance to find either. If you want to look for some particular thing, like you're looking for caves to sleep in or something like that, you can prioritize stuff like that. And if you have a particular way that you're going to look for stuff, like looking for a water source or something, you can specify that. Otherwise, it's all abstracted and good stuff that I can find.
We should be looking for game trails.
I was just about to say, I agree. I agree
for game trails. Understood. That makes perfect sense to me. You have a tracker as well, who will keep an eye out for that, and I believe your naturalist,
I am,
Zephyr, will also be able to do that. Man, you got a lot of wilderness prospects.
Yeah, we're wilderness dorks.
Okay.
I need one of I need 2 of 3 variables here. So when we depart Sills Bend, what is either the distance or the time it takes to get to the tree line proper for the forest?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay.
20 minutes, and some of that is because you're walking down the slope and heading out. If you were sprinting it, it would be way less. You bet you could make it in 5. And you can definitely see the tree line from the tour. You think you could even make out if there was someone standing on the edge of the tree line, you'd be able to count how many people there were. Roughly. You guys probably have better eyesight than I do. All right, so into the forest you go. The first hour of searching for game trails turns up little of interest in that regard. However, as you are passing along one of the trails, one of the thinner spots in the undergrowth, you'll feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, Zephyr, and I need the party to roll surprise.
I will roll. We each roll, right? Or is it?
I usually do a party roll, but you can apply your modifiers independently.
All right, I will roll a 1d6.
Okay. You're surprised on a 1 or 2 unless you have alertness.
I rolled a 1.
Oh.
Okay. You hear a loud hissing sound from behind you. And wheel about to see a giant lizard climbing its way straight down a tree, hanging on with its toes. This is a big old bright green, big black eyes, and it's staring at you threateningly.
Well, I stare threateningly also.
Okay. It's bigger than you.
Oh, dang it.
Its splayed toes grip the tree as it starts to back away, but it doesn't seem to want to break eye contact.
Back away slow. We're in its territory, I think. We'll leave the way we came.
You hear unsettling muttering, lightly
tilts from side to side.
Lightly and slightly intoned, barely vocal.
If you're going to strike it down, do so now. But I would advise retreat. doesn't have anything worth fighting to the death for. Does it? Does it have a big pile of money on it? Is it wearing an extremely expensive gold chain around its neck?
The man-sized gecko? No.
Okay. In
Not
that
that
case,
you
I'm
can see.
happy
Unless
to
you
not fight
think
it to
that
death.
a gecko hide is valuable treasure.
It's
Is
mediocre
it
treasure, I'd probably guess.
Okay.
I'm not a Telma, is this thing worth a lot of money?
I don't know.
Shh. She's probably pretty spooked. This thing's bigger than her, too.
Yeah, she's not super like into that. She's like way behind you guys and holding a bow and like shaking and like, yeah.
Okay.
Holt, way
So-
in the back with Telma, like, I'm glad this isn't my problem.
Let's
it's his
get out of here
problem
if we
you
can.
guys get killed. All right. Yeah. If you back away, it will, luckily, let you. It's going to lead you guys a little bit off your path, going around and out of the way, but you were quite lucky on your reaction check, and it had more important business to attend to if you were willing to leave it be, so there you go. The next hour's search.
Holt drawing a little scribble of a giant gecko in the woods.
Yeah, well, not my most interesting encounter, unfortunately.
Oh, I don't know. I felt imperiled.
Yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. It's bigger than me.
Fine. Your second hour turns up nothing. Just more rocks, more moss. You definitely start to get the sense that things have been built here at one point. You see signs of a couple of piled bricks here and there, an old cairn that looks like it's been scattered all over the place for years and years and years, but maybe 2 stones are still stacked up, covered completely in moss, things like that.
Any residue of old furnaces? I'm just thinking, like,
No.
what sort of stuff Zephyr would recognize at a glance from his elementalism, and just a furnace or oven struck me as the only things which would spring to mind.
You
This
said a
is...
cairn.
Yeah.
Any bodies in it?
In this case, unless I've misused the term, it's just a stacked pile of stones, like it was an old trail marker or something.
Oh, yeah. A cairn usually indicates a form of above-ground burial, or you stack rocks on top of a corpse to
What
conceal
the
it from
hell is the
invisible
word
scavengers.
for... What the hell is the word for one of those piles of rocks? I always thought that was what a cairn also was.
Typed in rock tower and I got appropriate images, but I don't think that's the appropriate vocabulary.
Okay.
Do they seem like mile markers or something?
Yeah, something like
Was
that.
it a road? Did there used to be, or is there seeing that?
Cairns are also used as trail markers. Thank you,
I was
Google,
just
for
Googling that.
ruining
You're
my flow.
correct.
Everyone's a winner.
Yay!
Correct. Technically correct. The best kind of correct.
No, the worst kind of correct. Clear and easily understood is the best kind of correct. So-
if this is indeed a mile marker, then, and not a body cairn, is there any additional evidence of former road that we could maybe even follow? I mean,
Yeah, you're guessing that this might have been a cairn. You see 2 stones stacked on top of each other, which is not a natural sort of formation, but
Yeah.
they're completely grown over with moss, and if this ever used to be taller, every other stone that was stacked on top has been whisked away
okay.
by time. And it's not an insignificant amount of moss either. We're looking at like nearly an inch of growth.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Been a long time.
Well,
It is a pretty humid spot.
that's 1 hour. We should keep exploring or mapping. My question, this is one example of my brain not being super great today, is do we keep exploring here or do we go further? Like, is this like check mark, this area is explored and mapped and we will get paid for it? Or I understand that if we keep searching, we might find a lair or something, but, should we?
I got 9 hours of
should we
sleep
move
last
on?
night, and I also am not certain, so good question.
I think
He's been mapping as you've been going. This is your second quadrant. Not really quadrants at all. There's not 4 of them. This is your second
Subhex.
Okay.
Obviously, I've been mapping as we go, of course.
Toptent or
But-
whatever.
Do you think I don't earn my
so
pay?
he's
I'm
been
a
mapping.
professional.
He's been mapping, and he thinks that you've got stuff that you could earn pay for, but you also haven't found anything other than that there's nothing in
Except the
the
geckos.
first
Well,
3
let's keep.
miles of forest.
I mean, we're trying to figure out if there is a problem with the game, what it is. So
Okay.
I think 2 hours in the wild. 2 hours sounds like a lot to us, but I don't think it's a lot to.
FDR snaps his fingers. We could have eaten that gecko. And Hulk's like, we couldn't have eaten
It's
that.
been thinking the same thing about you.
So is that seem okay? Continue looking.
makes sense to
following
me.
Game trails.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's keep looking.
Okay. You'll continue for a third hour and carry on with the mapping.
A brief thought. If we don't
yes.
find any game trails, if there are no game trails here, what does that imply about this place?
Well,
come
I have
back to
good
that
news. I have good news, which is that you've just stumbled across a brook in your third hour, where the forest thins out a little bit, and you spot berry bushes that seem like they've been eaten clean along the edge of this brook.
Yes, FDR, what if?
Heading down in the direction toward the river,
Mhm.
you'll see that more of these berry bushes grow in slowly increasing density.
And then the second thing we should be looking for is droppings.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
you'll find some deer droppings and things like that, little pellets as well.
Okay.
Are these
Herbivore.
berries wholesome?
Are you eating them?
I mean, I'm looking at them with my naturalism proficiency.
Are
but, like, I'm not.
are the
them in
leaves
my
are they healthy or are they mottled?
Everything's actually quite green and verdant here.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
It's early spring and the rains have come.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
these
was-
berries
berry
don't
bushes
look
are-
like they're poisonous, and if they
Alright.
are poisonous, the deer certainly don't seem to be bothered.
Yeah, all right. I will not read too deeply into the berries. Sometimes a
Spend
berry is
2
just a
hours
berry.
examining the berries. No, I'm
I
kidding.
can dig
No.
up a more detailed
The
description of
axe
what
berry
you
chart.
do, yeah, that actually
God.
No,
doesn't
no,
exist. It's the
no.
one thing that
It's
Axe
not-
doesn't do. Sorry,
Okay,
guys.
good. No, good.
Finally found the
That's-
lipids.
Next week,
Oh man.
new rules.
Okay.
Okay, so you've seen this sort of string of berry bushes heading down the brook. It's the closest thing you found to a game trail. Make of it what you will.
Well, let's follow the brook for a bit. I bet it'll take us back to the river eventually.
Yeah, sure, okay. Let's see what happens when you follow this brook. Okay, so the brook looks like it's heading down. It gets a little bit thicker as you go, a little bit
Mhm.
wider. The berry bushes and brambles still look like they're eaten pretty clean, but they are growing thicker as the water becomes broader as well. After about a mile, the berry bushes start to get thinner again. But you think that on the far side of the brook, which you could really just step over, it's only two maybe 3 feet wide at its widest. You see that the growth and the thinner area of the forest seems to continue, and you're pretty sure that you have found a de facto game trail. Perhaps not a proper deer run, but certainly a grazable area of unusually fertile. Well, not that unusual. Somewhere in the forest, you were certainly bound to find this, but this is where it's fruiting.
All right.
Cool stuff.
Well,
Already
Telma,
found something moderately interesting.
Time to earn your pay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
What's your plan?
Lay down some traps, I guess.
Lay down some
Am
traps.
am I reading your intentions correctly?
She should be able to track the beasts and try to maybe even lead us to bigger and better things.
You know,
I'm assuming-
she thinks that it would be pretty trivial to follow this trail. It's an actual trail.
Okay. Well,
sorry. Give me just 1 sec. I can still hear you, but I need to turn off alarm.
so I mean, we've searched for 2 hours, so I don't know. We've got some money we've made here. It seems like we haven't come under threat. We should move further in, right?
I agree.
Agreed.
Check it out.
Although, okay, I think we're right inside the forest, as far as I can tell. 20 minutes. I guess I should ask how far. I don't know if we're exploring and mapping by subhex as players. Ask some metagame questions. Or actually, I don't know if you all know, like if we're trying to map, is this game based on like a 6-mile hex where we're trying to get a sense of that, or are we...
I think there are subhexes, but I'm not completely
Subhexes?
sure myself.
Okay.
At the moment I'm offloading the hex by hex concerns to Martin, as he seems inclined to accept that burden, and also I don't have appropriate accounting tools.
I am trying to map, but I will ask about that when he gets back. I don't want to, you know. Obviously, if we're like, if he says, in the distance, to the right of the setting sun, you see a grand tower left, blah, 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 right? Then it'd be like, I'm going to just draw that down. But maybe I don't need to be mapping the berry bushes. Maybe I don't need to be mapping the berry bushes. Maybe I'm taking it a little too far.
These are all good questions.
I appreciate that you are mapping the berry bushes.
No, we do use subhexes. I will provide you with an accurate map that your mapper has produced, as you are paying him to map for you.
Right.
Between the sessions. I just don't want to reveal too much of it at once. And while we are definitely using subhexes, you have mapped 3. That was your 3rd hour. This is your 3rd hour of exploration. You are now something like 4-ish miles from the edge of the forest, and about 3 hours of exploration deep into your adventuring day.
Let's
it's now
cut
the early mid-afternoon, and you guys are...
Let's cut back southwest, I think it would be, or either southwest or straight west, and head back to town. It should still let us cover on if we've gone in. You know what I'm saying?
You're actually starting to head. You want to cut back straight west?
Well,
I see what you mean. Yeah, that makes perfect sense because you're heading south toward the river. Yes.
And that'll get us back to town, but still take us over unexplored area.
Oh, you'll have no trouble finding plenty of unexplored area here.
I guess what I'm saying is it's time to go back, but I was just trying to be as efficient exploration-wise with it as possible.
Okay. Yeah, you're only like 3 subhexes deep, and it's an 8-hour day you can do unless you want to force push. So you've got some time. Do you want to do during the rest of this hour? Do you want to continue to investigate this trail? Someone suggested that, or do you want to just note it down and come back later?
Let's map this trail.
Yeah, let's stay on the trail. Yeah.
Okay. It seems pretty clear to you that this is a deer trail as you're going down. Maybe it's used by other things as well, but that seems to be the main traffic. You would guess red deer based on some other spoor that you see. You see some rubbings from antlers on the trees. I hope I'm not getting those out of season too much. Pretty sure that's spring. And you'll be able to continue down this trail completely unmolested.
Nice.
Until it sort of terminates The berry bushes are continuing to grow thicker and thicker as you pass down the trail, and then it hits looks like a sheltered glade that's maybe surrounded by taller trees.
This is interesting.
Do you want to go in?
I mean, we'll probably look around inside it to see if there's like any suspicious stumps with rabbits on top before we leap inside. But yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't go into the glade.
Yeah, okay, great. The surrounding trees here are easy enough to pass at a walking pace,
Mhm.
or I suppose you could duck under the thicker growth.
Mhm.
Zephyr will note as a naturalist that it seems like it would be difficult for a tall creature to run in or out in a hurry. They kind of wind around, and the trees themselves are pretty thick.
Does it
Sort
look
of thing where
cultivated to that effect, or is it just a random happenstance?
cultivated. That's a good question. We're going to circle back to it. It doesn't look like it was man-made.
Okay.
Inside, this is sort of a shallow glade. Glade might even be too strong a term. It's pretty small, full of these berry brambles and low fruiting trees that are hemmed in by this thicker tree growth on the outside. The fruit inside looks like large and pretty healthy.
I'm not eating
Almost. No, that's fine. I mean, it's a mix of all sorts of stuff. You're looking at berries, maybe. Gosh, I hate to just say apples, but I don't know what sorts of fruiting trees are common in this area yet. I haven't gotten to that level of detail.
That's fair.
Apples.
What you will
Grapples.
note is that the fruit
Kumquats.
here is growing larger than you would expect as a naturalist, almost as if it's been pruned. It has that kind of look to it.
I suspect we might be in someone's terrain. Or, like, do I get the impression?
But wait, there's more.
Oh.
On the far side of the grove lies the mostly eaten carcass of a red deer buck.
Huh.
Telma will readily, her eyes go a little wide, and she'll know that these antlers look like they're a decent pair. They could be worth a fat few silvers back in town.
Let's get to cutting that.
Yep.
Security first.
Okay, now I'm gonna take a second. You see, mostly eaten.
Yeah, by what? What sort of teeth should we be visualizing here?
Well, that's
Canine?
a question for the something canine you said.
Oh yeah, it's got that look about it. And you don't think, just based on the width of the teeth, you'd say maybe nothing too much bigger than a wolf.
Okay, now I'd like to have a look at the corpse and see if there's anything wrong with it.
What are you checking for?
Internal organs, the look of the meat, the muscle tissue, smelling the bile, all that good stuff.
Well, the first thing that will have gone was the gut pile, so there's not going to be too much to smell beyond the meat itself, which it's also been mostly.
Well, if there was something wrong with it, there may be a lingering odor.
Axe bile chart. Let's go.
Nothing. I see what you mean. There is no
I'll stop.
lingering
I'm
odor
sorry.
that you're able to detect, but there are some bits of meat still here and there on the bones. Small amounts, but you could catch some that's like right where two bones meet. You can find a little bit here and there if you want to take a sample or something.
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't notice any particularly strong smells. The only thing that does sort of stand out to you, and I apologize if this is an unusually graphic detail, is that the head looks like it wasn't eaten on at all.
Well, that's very interesting and unusual. Normally, the eyes would be the first thing to go. Even like scavenger birds would pick that clean.
Ah, the eyes are gone.
Oh, okay. But even then, there's
like
the
jowls
mouth.
are quality meat, and
Yeah.
those look like they kind of sunk in and decayed all natural.
Eerie.
Then I'm
probably just
gonna
take the whole head.
Okay. You're trying to pick the head up off the ground?
Not yet. But like, I mean, we're entertaining the process.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. It's got antlers. This is kind of bulky.
yeah,
Well,
maybe
we already said we were going to cut the antlers off, so
Yeah. Well, you said you wanted to investigate first, so I figured.
well, that's just
In
what
case you guys wanted
that's what Jagorov is up to. But
well, you've already been poking at the carcass, and nothing has
Yes.
sprung out and killed you. So
yeah,
Okay.
All right.
I guess
So
I
Juggernaut will
will
complete
join
his investigation.
yes.
Would the antlers be worth more if they were still attached to the skull?
You wouldn't think so. In fact, you think that they're mostly useful as a raw material.
All right. Guess off. Let's take them off. Actually, no.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Before I commit to destroying this thing, this whole area is a little suspicious. We're in a place with like what looks like a pruned garden full of a lot of different kinds of fruiting trees.
It doesn't look like a pruned garden. It looks like natural growth. It's just that the fruit looks like it's been pruned. The fruit's growing big, like it had been pruned.
Okay. Is there any indication in this area, like any signs of human or human-like activity? Any written symbolism? Any marks which were made into the trees, as if by tool or claw? Anything around here which indicates that this is someone's territory? That this is like, for example, that I'm standing in someone's garden. And if that seems like a nonsensical question, then it probably means that I'm not standing in someone's garden.
I don't know if this is exactly the right role for that, but I think you don't think so. Telma, who is a tracker, might have more insight into whether there are signs of human passage. Ross, would you like to make a proficiency throw? You're looking for an 11 plus to get expert information on this. Oh, it's just you just type the dice. You just type D20 or 1d20.
The syntax.
Oh, 19.
Ooh, very good.
She's feeling quite confident that you're probably the first humans to ever step into this grove. And if you're not, the last people who came here came so long ago that all trace of their passage has been pushed away. Furthermore, she'll be able to say that she thinks that it's looking like maybe deer and rabbits and quite possibly some small predators. Foxes, wolves, things like that. Well, I don't know how small wolves are, but relatively small compared to some of the horrors that you may have been expecting, like that gecko.
I flip the carcass over using my quarterstaff to see if anything horrifying leaps out at us. And if nothing
When you go to flip the carcass over, you're almost going to trip because it's rooted to the ground. At least the skull is.
I leap back 30 feet. Like, I react as if I had been shot at.
Now, there are rules for how far back you can leap.
I can't leap 30 feet. I realized like a second later that makes no sense, but I leap back. Like there is unironically, I leap back away from the thing, and I say, it's rooted to the ground. That is not just a dead animal. Something is awry here.
It has nothing to say in its defense.
Okay. And I just wait to see like if it sprouts tendrils or if it it sends roots through the earth.
Nope, it sits still.
Palensis?
Yeah.
Two-man job.
Oh, we're gonna try to lift this thing?
Well, I want to try and figure out why its head is attached to the earth.
All right.
I'm gonna try and lever it up with my staff by its antlers.
Okay.
We'll see what comes of it.
You have no trouble trying to lever it a little bit up to see what's underneath.
Yeah,
and
what is underneath?
You see are maybe half-inch thick to 3/4 of an inch thick mycoloid tendrils crawling their way up. Not moving, of course, but that have crawled their way up into the skull. From
as in like fungal hyphae?
Yeah.
Okay. I gesture everyone Okay, I gesture to
Pickens.
Jagrov and I gesture to, I guess anyone who will listen, because CFR loves an audience, and he says, "Look, it's infested with some sort of fungus. I think that's why nothing ate the head. I smelled something wrong with it."
Well,
You didn't
this
smell anything. He made that last bit up.
this is unnatural, yes.
I think so, or at least
Eh?
I don't know if it's unnatural, but it's certainly unusual. Normally,
Oh, you would actually know. Yeah, this is a little unusual. You've never seen anything like this before.
like the natural world contains many things which seem, at first glance, to not belong in it. But there are more things under heaven and earth than are easily understood by us. And I will, by brute force, sort of gently overpower the mycelial tendrils until the head comes away.
You could just cut it loose. They're not that thick.
I don't have a knife.
Oh, you know who does have a knife?
Jagrov, do you want to use your
Jagrov.
knife? Do you want to get your knife filthy with fungus goo?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
go to.
Disappointingly, there's no goo for you to get your ceremonial dagger dirty with. Not sure what that's about, but you will be able to cut through these tendrils, which have about the same consistency as the stalk of a portobello mushroom. And free the skull. You've now got stalks, sort of like mushroom-looking stalks, cut to maybe an inch of length, still in the ground, and a now detached deer carcass.
Okay.
Thing called
Cordyceps.
cordyceps.
It's the parasitic fungus. It normally infects ants and makes them clamber to the top of high objects and die and sporulate there. It was also popularized in The Last of Us as it mutated into a human zombie plague fungus. This strikes me as something between that and reality. I recommend that we sever the head from the body and take it home.
Okay. That's a trivial task, what with almost the entire neck being eaten down to, bone and some lingering tendon.
Okay.
Granted,
Granted, now that we have the thing, now that I say that, what can we even do with the head? No one's gonna want it. And even if we say, "Oh, we found out it's full of there's fungus," they'll be like, "That's great, throw that out." So we probably should actually just saw off the antlers and move on. But
okay, that'll take you 10 minutes.
Okay.
No big deal.
And we've
You all
got
know how to do
lots of
that.
credible witnesses. Like Holt is here. Holt sees this, and he is credible, even if he is not widely liked.
I mean, the ladies like him.
How dare you speak of me that way just because you're playing me? Screw you.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay, so you've freed this.
Uh-huh.
You've spent. You are planning to spend 10 minutes getting the antlers
Antler.
off.
Yeah.
Those come free, no problem. You think they're probably worth maybe 14 silvers back in town. Not a lot for you guys, but for a wage worker or a hunter, this is a pretty good deal.
Okay. I mean, do I have a bag? I don't really have a proper bag. I've got my bag.
One of you has a bag.
Yeah,
One of you has
let's
a
bag the
and none
head,
of you
because
put anything in it.
someone
head,
somewhere will probably be able to identify the nature of the fungus.
Is
But I
this
suspect
is this related to that those lines you were drawing, Jagrov?
Let's see here.
It doesn't look like it.
No, it does not look like it. No, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Okay. What a mystery.
So, is it a mystery? Okay.
The mushrooms in the head? I don't think that's... I'm trying to think. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me when you add all the pieces together. That seems odd.
My suspicion is that there's some kind of outbreak of some unusual fungus which is tainting the local game.
Okay. Also, here's the thing. The fruit tree, no. Okay, something ate this deer though. I mean, let's keep going. I mean, we're 4 or 5 hours in. I'm willing to push it. 3 hours in.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, and beyond the grove, figure out if there's something more weird going on here. Just keep going. I don't know. That's my vote.
I agree.
Okay.
Agreed.
So you're heading out the other side of this grove.
Yeah.
I think so, yes.
Into the weird and wild.
Okay. As you head out the other side of the grove, you're going to notice...
I'm sorry. Sorry. We should take some of these fruits with us, too.
Oh, good idea.
That was my initial thought.
All kinds of whatever grows in a forest here. They have a really sweet smell. They're almost cloying as if they're overripe.
Which is not right for this time of year, correct?
You would think it's a little early. This is the middle of the second month of spring. So if they were really early bloomers, you'd think that was possible. But yeah, it's a bit unusual. You'd think that this would be more common a few months down the line.
Okay.
This whole situation, this whole area strikes me as eerie.
Okay.
Let's not eat any of this.
All right. As you pick the stuff up, you'll notice that this sort of overripe smell doesn't really match the firmness of the fruit. Usually when something's overripe, you expect it to be kind of soft and mushy. Mm-hmm. Here it seems to just be a particularly strong smell, and this stuff seems like it's still firm and just barely ripe.
I exchange a concerned look with Yagrov. Jagrov. I am trying to get that right. I'm not succeeding, but someday.
He'll correct you even if you get it right.
I know, but then it'll be him agreeing with me that I'm correct.
He's been agreeing with you this whole time. He's probably really impressed by your mastery of his native tongue. He is, if nothing else, polite.
It's true.
So, you want to carry on with your handful of berries.
Wait, you were going to ask Jagrov something? I'm sorry.
No, just nothing specific. We take the fruit, we move on, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Great. So you're heading out back the way you came. You're heading out the far side.
Far side.
Okay.
Let's cover some new territory.
All right. As you head out the far side, you're moving away from that brook, and you imagine perpendicular to the river, parallel to the river, although you haven't actually gone and mapped it out. You're not sure which way it turns, but you haven't crossed the river yet, and you're a good number of miles in, maybe 4.5, 5 miles in. You will see that the far side of this grove is arrayed in a similar kind of way to the run that you followed in, where there's a thick weave of in the path, surrounded by trees that are, maybe above that 3.5, 4 foot mark. The growth is just really thick. The branches are too thick for you to run through. You really have to wind around. Not very long, maybe 10, 15 feet like that, and then it opens up, and again, it's berry bushes that have mostly been eaten clean, getting thinner and thinner and thinner as you progress away.
That place gives me a bad vibe. Do not trust it. Not one bit.
Okay. I mean, nature's fast food, but whatever. Here I am, like, hook my boys up with some free meals. You were just a couple hours, or I guess a couple days too late to get the deer, but I couldn't make you come into the forest last week, so it had to decay.
He's not wrong.
Sorry. So anyway, you'll continue on and begin mapping for the 4th hour. You've now collected 3 units worth of useful mapping information. And Holt is delighted. This is glory on glory on glory for him.
I'm having
Stuff that his
fun.
master
I'm
hasn't
having
mapped.
fun.
Yeah. So you're going to continue going east, as far as you know.
Yes.
You don't find any interesting new terrain that you're aware of right away, but somewhere around the, you would think, 6-mile mark, the forest gets a little thinner again, and you see squares and circles in the ground of what look to be heavily decayed foundations for old homes. This could be the ruins of some sort of old village or encampment.
I'm sure Holt is beside himself with enthusiasm for this one.
He seems confused, actually. He wasn't expecting this to be here.
What's going on, Holt?
He looks confused.
Well, he'll know of some locations there where he suspects maybe there was an old village here and there, and I guess he just wasn't expecting this one.
We've got nothing like this in any of the maps, none of the archives.
You don't, but he's seen some stuff. He's seen some stuff, and he has some suspicions. But I guess no one's ever been out here, so this is all new information.
How old do these ruins look?
They are all the way worn down. They could be anywhere from 100 to 1,000 years old, as far as you can tell. A lot of them are grown over completely with trees sitting on top of the brickwork. Little brickwork that still remains. You see very little that's more than 4 or 5 bricks tall. Most of it is just exposed foundations where the roots of trees couldn't get in quite as deep as they normally would, and only shallower things are growing there. Shrubs.
A few thousand more years, this will all be gravel.
As you kind of wind through this, you're going to see what looks like one mostly intact building.
Really?
Compared to everything else that's mostly intact, yes. It looks like it was at one point several stories tall, and now what you see is the remains of 1.5 stories, partially on one side, next to sort of a raised boulder that must have been preventing it from getting grown over completely by the trees.
So I'm pretty sure I might use this as a lair. It's useful shelter.
Okay.
Lensis, Joyce, do you want to take a peek?
Yeah.
The sun.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Been pretty boring so far.
Oh no.
Joyce is going to
Okay.
draw his sword and just walk in.
Oh, he's just going to walk in?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me one sec. As he walks in, Jagrov is going to nearly trip and fall over some stone on the ground that he didn't see. When he looks down, he'll see what looks like a bit of statuary in the shape of a rabbit.
Hey, Abbott.
Wait.
Does it mean anything to me?
How perfect is the statue?
Not as much. Well, you're not there looking at it unless
Yeah.
Jagrov tells you. As Joyce walks in, you hear a hideous shriek.
And Jagrov looks up, startled.
He comes bolting back out.
Did you
Says,
find the
"Run.
rabbit?
Run.
Run!
I'm already running.
Get
Yeah.
running!
Yeah.
You can see that he's pissed himself.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Holt,
Oh,
Holt
no.
does not run. Holt freezes up for a second. He's like, what? And then he sort of stutters into motion, starts sprinting away. But I have to clarify. Zephyr begins running immediately. You'd think he was at the starting gun of a race, and someone had called out. He just goes.
What are you running? What are we running from?
I'm gonna need you guys to roll initiative just for this, even though you're not necessarily in combat, because the order of movement matters.
I will roll initiative. That's a 1d6, correct?
You're actually all gonna roll initiative, and we're gonna go down in order to see who moves when. I'm gonna count down. You take your d6 roll, you add your dex bonus, and Ross Palensis will also add 1 because he has combat reflexes. It's an additional +1.
Thank you.
I don't think any of you actually have a dex bonus. So, does anyone have initiative 10? 9. 8. 7. 6. 5.
Yes.
What do you do?
Run.
Okay. Full speed, you're just sprinting.
I mean, I can't cast a spell while running, correct?
That's correct.
So I guess it's run until I have more information.
Okay. That was 6, right?
I was on 5. Yeah. If a
4.
dirty fighter like him is screaming and pissing himself, I think I'll just run.
4.
Run. That's me and Holt. We are both sprinting.
3. On 2.
Run.
Okay. That's everyone, isn't it?
I think
No
so.
one's left.
What about Tama?
I didn't roll for for
Yeah,
Joyce.
I'm sorry. Are we? I'm so sorry. We're rolling for the
apologize.
henchman.
Yes.
He rolled. Joyce
roll
rolled
for
a
each
1.
person.
I will do that. Okay, great. 3, and she runs. I mean, obviously.
Okay.
Joyce is, I'm sure, not changing his mind, but he rolled a 1.
He rolled a 1. Okay, that does actually change something. So 2 people rolled once. On 2, you'll hear another hideous shriek and something shouting in a language that none of you seem to understand. A hissing, nasty sounding language. Curses, maybe. Hard to say. Who was it that's on a 1?
Joyce.
Joyce. Okay. He's the only one who's on a 1.
Correct. Palensis rolled a 1 but has a +1.
Okay. Then none of you will see what comes out, because you're all sprinting away. This is why it was important for you to go in this order. We're coming to the top of the second round. You are not quite out of the woods yet. And whatever this was did not manage to catch up to Joyce before he started to sprint away. Are any of you planning to do anything other than run? Cast a spell, attack, turn around, try to shoot?
I mean, at this point, yeah, I think I'll risk a glance over my shoulder.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, do we hear any rumor of the size of thing or something like that? Like loud crashing noises in the underbrush or?
All you hear is the shrieking for now.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, other than glancing over my shoulder, I'll just keep running.
Okay. And the rest of you are just going to run.
I am just running. I have a few theories about what they are. Some of them mean I shouldn't look at it. And in any case, seeing Joyce piss himself in terror is like an extremely strong signal to me that I am in mortal danger. And I'm just going to trust in that and book it for at least a minute.
Okay. Great. So it looks like everyone's going to run. The henchmen are all going to... Well, I mean, you guys can tell me if you want them to do something different, but I suspect they're all going to run.
It's going to probably slow down before Zephyr does, but not within 20 seconds.
Okay. Since none of you actually have a bonus higher than +1, now that I'm looking at all these sheets, I'm just going to count down from 7. So 7, 6.
Are we rolling again?
Yes. You can use the same number you rolled last time, actually. That's fine. for this
Okay.
round. 5,
Yep.
4, 5.
Running on 5.
And
Running.
taking
and
your
running.
glance back. Okay.
Yep.
You will see a human form step out angrily with its hands raised and its fists clenched, maybe 100 or so feet behind you, with hideous serpentine hair
Wow.
as you go. No one else said they were looking back, so you're the only one who sees this, Jagarav.
Is there anything in my university education that would let me know what that is?
You have lore mastery proficiency, which you are allowed to roll on basically anything that you want. And if you pass a check of, I want to say 18 plus at this level, and it gets better as you level, you will get a shot at hidden lore.
All right, this is a D20 roll.
Yep.
Unmodified, or just intelligence?
Yeah, it's a proficiency throw like a thief skill. And at first level, your target is 18 plus, and it goes down by
so
1 every
close.
level.
Dang it.
Yeah, only what you know. Only what you know as an adventurer applies here. I'm afraid I have no additional lore to give you.
Okay.
Okay, and everyone else bolts.
Yep.
This will bring you far enough away. Oh, it's pursuing.
Get mad.
I apologize. I should have done this with the evasion rules to start with.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do a wilderness evasion check. Hang on. Evasion and pursuit. I apologize. I'm going to have to just double check and make sure I'm giving you guys the right roll on this one. Your movement speed is universally 120 feet. Okay, that's good to know.
I know that Palensis and Joyce both are slowed by their armor, but I also know they both have horses.
Yeah. Your party size is above 5, but below 12, which means that your base evasion throw is 14 plus.
Okay.
The pursuers, not very big. There's only one of them, as far as you're aware. It's +0. Okay. One of you needs to make a throw of 14 plus. Hang on. You have... You have an explorer. Though you didn't hire him to fight, he can most certainly help guide you here, because he wants to live. And I believe he adds +4.
You just type in +4 to the thing?
Yeah, you just write D20 plus... Sorry, +5. D20 +5.
All right, well, in that case, it was a 14 instead of a
That
13.
That is
So,
exactly...
exactly.
it's +5, isn't 18. He gives...
No.
No,
plus
he
5.
rolled
Yeah. I see.
a 9 plus 5. Yeah.
Now, your target number was a 14, which means you guys are going to escape.
Only because of
You're
that
gonna
guy.
Run and run.
So he
Don't
saved
know
our
what
life.
direction you ran.
Well, we got an explorer leading us, right?
Yeah,
but
you were fleeing. You were going
Okay.
any way that you could go to get away, and you managed to find a place to get away. But you lost track of the direction that you ran. And eventually, though these rules say that it may follow you for up to a day, I don't actually think that makes any sense here. I think that in a forest this thick, you'll be able to lose it within an hour. And satisfy yourself that it is not following you.
Well, then it's time to find the sun and head home.
Agreed.
All right.
We found.
So you're now 5 hours into the day. You have found what you believe to be a lair, and what you believe to be maybe another lair. Hard to say. You've got your skull, and your antlers, and your fruit,
and my muscle tissue,
and your muscle tissue,
and our traumatic memories.
You're lost in the forest.
We're lost.
Well, we can
A
find the
little bit, yeah.
sun, hopefully. Use this handy dandy explorer who still wants to live.
Like we're within a
No,
few miles.
actually, you're not lost when it comes to direction, just distance, and he'll be able to get you back on track.
Yeah. Like we don't know
When we
exactly
get back
where
out to the
we'll be
edge
able
of the
to speak.
forest, yeah, when we get back out to the edge of the forest, he can probably do some cartographer triangulation or some crap like that and figure out, at least notionally.
Okay, you have 3 hours left. You can try to continue mapping on your way out of the forest if you'd like.
That's money.
Yes.
I'd really
Okay.
rather just. I think we should go, says Holt, like trembling a little bit. That I didn't understand.
You still have been paid, yes?
Everybody turns around and looks at him like, you are getting paid to do this, right? You know, like everybody's like. I give Joyce
yes.
I give Joyce like a
boy.
rag so he can wipe his urine.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
I just need to.
It's probably not the first time either one of them have wet their
Smell
pants in front of
viscera
other
and
people.
blood and urine, and
Yeah.
it happens. Yeah.
It happens.
Okay.
Yeah. Joyce is gonna look up from
No,
from
you're right.
cleaning himself and ask if the map. You gonna be okay, buddy? I mean,
I'm
take
fine.
that scout and all.
I'm fine. Let's map our exit. Let's
Agreed.
be
Agreed.
scouts.
Okay.
Jagrov is secretly, in his mind, seeing his own deathly hand crushing this creature's throat and making plans.
What, mine?
Okay.
No, secretly. No. He maintains the same sort of Xi Jinping beatific smile at all times.
Okay.
That's a phrase.
You're quite close now to the river. That's how you were able to find your bearings again. You find that you had been running almost due south and have come in sight of the sill, which seems to have turned east. It's now running east-west, and you're heading, as I understood, west toward what you believe to be town.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. You'll be able to map in that direction, winding away from the river and coming back and away and back.
I assume that by now, or I want to check that whether or not by now Joyce and Jagrov have told the rest of us what they saw.
Oh yes. Jagrov will, while the cleaning and morale building is happening. Once that's done, he will compare notes with Joyce as to the appearance of this thing, because I suppose he must have seen it, and that's what made him scream. So, did he see any further?
His hands are still going to be shaking. He says he almost looked in the eye. He was this close.
Yes. This legendary creature.
You can have a conversation with yourself. This is going to be rough. I'll help.
I mean, I've heard tell of it.
Know.
It's the one thing you don't do. You see those snakes? Don't look it in the eye. It's what I've heard. It's what they say.
I've heard the legends, but
it almost had me.
My tutor, when I first learned of these, spoke of some experiences with such creatures, but even he'd only heard of them in secondhand. I didn't realize they could possibly exist this close to civilization. I guess once you're in the forest, anything is possible. There's no way that the marks, the head of the Tor won't want to hear this. They won't This is very valuable information for them. Such a creature must either be slain or made some peace with.
And if he responds in a similar way he did last time, that'll be valuable information for us.
Well, if
But I agree.
there's stuff like that hanging out in the forest, you can't take your people through there.
Not without sending an army ahead of you first.
This man is a fool, I've said it before.
Yargov, how many people don't count as fools, in your esteemed opinion?
You are one of them, my friend.
And Zephyr believes him completely.
I've seen you smack
What's
a man
Zephyr's
in the
wisdom?
face.
Wisdom of 8.
Nice.
Do you not find it to be advantageous not to tell someone when you think they are a fool?
Sometimes you need to be a little honest with people you need to couch it in a bit of careful language, but sometimes people need to be forewarned against their own foolish successes, as you warned me of succumbing to my bravado after I fought that guy, even if I did win.
Yes. Yes, your talents are most likely better applied elsewhere. Though it did work out for you.
Yes.
And for all of us. I myself
you're
was
walking-
not pleased to have to use my knife in such a violent manner. Usually I prefer to be more patient with it. Sorry, I interrupted you, Martin.
No, that's quite all right. I interrupted you. As you're walking, the air goes cold. It's too quiet. You've come back near the river, and the birds have stopped chirping. You don't hear any rustling in the undergrowth of squirrels or rabbits or anything like that.
Is it discernible? Like we cross... can we stop and then try to go back and see if there's a difference? Like, is there a discernible area where the temperature changes and that kind of thing?
It's not that kind of difference. It's a blood chilling kind of cold, not a skin chilling kind of cold. Jagrov.
Yes, I was just gonna ask if I had any. Go ahead.
Jagrov will have quite a bit of insight into this.
There is death.
This close?
The power of death. So, can you tell me a bit more? What insight other than just the power of death I might have?
It's above your pay grade.
Okay, but the kind of so number one, magical power connected to the realm of death.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say it's above your pay grade, therefore you know nothing about it. It's above his pay grade, and he recognizes that this is the work of one of his
Powerful
people,
necromancy. Yeah.
but bigger and badder.
This is the magic of death. We must flee.
He thinks it's across the river, whatever it is.
Okay. Okay, yes. We stumble across the border of
Something unholy.
dangerous territory.
I checked to see if Holt has sprinted away, and Holt is just sort of holding his map really close to himself, like he's trying to pretend that nothing else is there.
So
He's still
using
drawing.
taking a moment indeed to revel, perhaps, though inwardly, in this wash of power that I desire. Is there a way that I can... well, Jagrev is going to sort of I'm going to take out my knife.
Okay.
And none of this has to make sense mechanically, but perhaps it's just his style. Using the knife, which has been used in various ways in the past, I'm going to walk into.
Torturing prisoners.
No, I
It's
mean
such
he didn't start. Well, I mean, look.
He wasn't torturing him. He was trying to kill him.
What are you gonna do? Yeah, these guys are all obviously
So much
murderous
better.
bandits. I'm going to walk into the power that I feel.
It's across
In
the
an
river.
Yes, I understood. In an attempt to see if by the feel of this power, I can get a better sense for where, like, in other words, are we within a circular zone? That's what I mean about testing the edges of it and using my knowledge of what it does, the particularities of the chill of the blood that varying levels of this power bring.
I see.
Try to gain more knowledge of where it might be, the source of it. And then describe, whatever my conclusions are. I'd like, to look at the map.
I'm trying to
and
decide whether this needs a roll.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna give you some information without a roll. I don't know if this requires a black lore roll. I don't even know if such a thing exists. I'd have to look that up afterward. I'm happy to between sessions, and I'll update you next session if you remember something. But I'm gonna go ahead and say between black lore and if you want to roll lore mastery on this, you can. But what you will identify is that this is a haunt. These are hunting grounds. Whatever's here hunts.
Okay.
It's quiet, not because things are afraid of the death, but because things don't stay here without being hunted. It's good stuff.
So I'll relay. Yes, I'll relay this. So this is. So I'll just say then outright, without bothering to explain why I know or anything, if anyone cares to ask. But I will just simply explain that it's the hunting ground. This is the hunting ground of an undead creature.
You think you're quite close. You can't see it, but you would bet that in those trees across the way, you're going to find whatever ground zero there is to this. You don't feel it like this unless you're real close.
So I'm going to relay that info to the map maker and sort of indicate approximately where, and we can just mark a little X for when we're more capable.
Bolt, can you find your way back here?
You can.
Okay.
I'm not going to. I don't want to, but I think I can.
Yeah. He's going to need to correct the map when he gets back to town, but as soon as he finds the edge of the forest, he's confident that he'll know what distance it was as long as you don't have any other run-ins.
The Marks Lord's
He
plan
started measuring again.
Moving east seems matter by the moment.
All right. Well, let's get out of here for now.
Okay. Ross, we're coming up on time. Do you wanna head back to town without doing any more mapping? That will require no more encounter checks.
Yeah, let's just cut.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we've made some good progress here. Anyways.
Made some pretty good progress.
Yeah.
So
Found all sorts of cool stuff.
Okay.
I'm happy with that.
All right. Without mapping, he'll still be able to give you a rough measurement of where you are based on. Are you following the river back, or are you going to try to reconnect with your original path?
Follow the river back. Whichever is fastest and safest.
This is the wilderness.
I didn't say
No idea
I didn't
how
say
fast it
fast
is.
and safe.
None of
I
it's
said
safe.
fast. Okay. That's why I used a comparative statement.
I know, but
Enough of your sass, storyteller.
yes, sir.
Progress the narrative to our demise or success. Pick one.
I would never progress a narrative. I have no idea what direction this is going. You tell me. So you make it back to town with no further trouble. You've mapped 1, 2, 3, 4 1.5 mile subhexes. Not all of them are contiguous. You've also learned something about the shape of the river, which is quite valuable because no one knew which direction it turned beyond vague ideas and some old, poorer maps. So that's quite valuable. It turns pretty much east right afterward. I will update your map afterward to indicate what it is, and you'll be able to do some deduction on that between sessions. You'll be able to arrive back in town before the end of the day, head to the quartermaster and the cartographer, and receive your pay, fair wages, for fair work. Per his, let me see if I can find the prices just to double check. I'm sure I posted this. Yes, I did. So you've mapped 4 subhexes. That's going to be worth 180 gold in bounty. You brought back information on 2 lair locations. You identified the inhabitant of one of them. Those 2 lair locations are going to be worth 100 gold. Are you going to report the grove as well?
I think so, yeah. That strikes me as a point of, like, that place is either the root of a lot of things which are going wrong in there,
Okay.
or it's actually harmless and that's free snacks. So,
Okay. Then I'm going to call that 3 notable points of interest that you mapped. So that's worth 300 gold. You've identified the inhabitant of one of the lairs. It's an extra 50, so you're up to 530. Did I do that right?
Nice. Heck yeah.
530. You haven't identified any of these water sources as potable yet, so I'm not going to give you any cash for that, but you do know where a brook is. Yeah. So
It'll get
530
bookkept later,
gold
but
guarantees.
I'm gonna give instead of Joyce getting a quarter of a share and me a full share, I'm gonna give him a half share and take a half share.
So you get a bonus.
Yeah, and I'll tell him, and I'll work out the numbers later. But I'll tell him, I'll be like, you earned it for what you did back there, and I won't say anything else. I just walk off.
Actually, he suffered a calamity, and he may not stay in your service.
He still gets the money.
Oh.
Well, okay. Let's see. He's gonna roll morale here. Do you have, or loyalty rather? Do you have you don't have any charisma bonus?
Actually, I do. I have a -1. I have
you
a
do?
negative bonus.
That's a problem.
You have a penalty?
Yeah, charisma -1 modifier. Yeah, I got an 8 to charisma.
Oh
think
wow,
that's
I
all,
forgot
yeah.
about that. He wants out. He'll politely, and this is weird for him to be this polite, but he wants out.
Nah, I don't blame you. I just walk off.
He
let him
will
go.
politely decline the
Oh,
the bonus and say you paid me plenty. I don't do debts.
all right. Well, be careful out there.
Whatever. And he walks off to go drink.
Nice.
I will miss him.
I will too.
I thought he was kind of a
Oh, man.
loser, actually.
I mean,
He
wasn't much to hang out with, but he was brave as hell.
He was kind of a tough guy,
Yeah.
if I'm honest. But he was an inch away from staring into the eyes of a Medusa that he
Mhm.
was
I
up
don't
against
blame him.
alone, and I don't know. I mean that does something to somebody. He shattered his morale, and I mean it's a question whether this is supposed to be a calamity. It's not like he had a mortal wound or anything, but I think he would treat being an inch's glance away from stone.
Yeah.
About the same. He would in particular. So sorry.
No.
But you get to keep your money. He won't even. He'll just take his quarter share.
Yeah.
He wants a clean break. He bears you no ill will, but the same for him.
Sure. To Palensis, this is, now the horrors in the forest are a problem in Palensis' mind, and it's questionable whether or not he'll sleep tonight.
There's some more horrors in that forest than I fully understood.
Yo, same.
Yeah. All right. Is that the...
So that's you guys for today. Do you have any other details you want to take care of, or do you want to wrap up here in a timely fashion?
Let's wrap up in a timely fashion.
I go to the opposite side of the, what is it called, of the Bleeding Hunter Inn and Bathhouse. No,
the bathhouse is not called the Bleeding Hunter. That just.
Oh. Okay. Well, I go drink on the opposite side from Joyce just to not make it too awkward. But I also try to.
He's already skipped town.
All right. Well, I try to drink my my fears away.